Hello everyone, this is Katie from Moonflower Moments, and I wanted to go ahead and follow up the 5 tarot deck challenge from A Riffle in Time with the 5 oracle deck challenge. So it utilizes the same prompts, but I am going to repeat them in case you haven't seen the other video yet. So the first prompt is the deck that I'm currently using. So I am currently using Southern Botanic. I have mixed feelings about this oracle. The first time that I used it, I did an interview with it, and all of the cards that had popped out were from this shadowy pack. And like, I mean, this one isn't terrible. You know, the Hairy Vetch, reciprocity, and then like trade off, you know, that's not too bad. But to get like temptation, danger, I'm gonna keep going, see if I can find some other ones. Stagnation, entrenchment. This deck, the expansion pack does have some very shadowy words, and I'm okay with the shadow. I'm not afraid to go there, but to receive all shadowy prompts and all shadowy words the very first time I was reading with the deck, it did put me off for a little bit, and I recognized that, okay, there might be something there that I need to come back to in my own time, and so that's what I did. Another thing that really put me off is that, you know, I do live in the South. I've lived in Louisiana almost my whole life, and so I'm very familiar with some of these plants that are portrayed, with most of the plants that are portrayed, as a matter of fact. And it really throws me off when I'm reading to get something that is not in bloom at that time. So for example, strawberries. Okay, strawberries are really only in bloom in like April, May. Okay, that's their big part of the year. And I do live in Louisiana, which is a major like strawberry exporter. So, you know, this has like a very specific time to spring with me. You know, and comfrey, you know, that grows other times. Swamp lily is definitely like a spring plant. Rose is definitely like a more of like an all-season plant. But to get plants that are like specific to one season, and let's say it's like December, it really just, it doesn't work in my head. And so I've really tried to get over that. I do love leaning into plant energies. I love gardening. I love planting. But ultimately, when I get something that isn't seasonally in alignment, it does throw me off. So right now I've been enjoying this deck. Everything pretty much is in bloom from what the deck is showing, especially like the beautiful Spanish moss reminds me of, you know, my home and where I'm from. The irises are in bloom right now too. So I think seasonally this needs to be a spring deck for me, and you know, I'm enjoying it where it is and for what it is. So the next prompt is a 5-star oracle deck. This one was an absolute no-brainer for me. I knew exactly what I was going to pull, and that would be the Prophet Oracle. This is by Blue Angel. I first saw this deck on Marlena Teresa's channel, and I knew immediately that I needed to have it. So some people are going to be bothered by the fact that it is like partially landscape, partially portrait. It doesn't really bother me because I work with these cards one at a time. I pull one for the month, and then I ruminate over that message. So some of these messages are really straightforward. To you, the earth yields her fruit. But there's some other ones that are a little bit more cryptic in nature. And so it does take me, I feel like, an entire month to be able to process this information. But I find the artwork to be absolutely stunning. All of these phrases are taken from larger works of art by a particular poet. And so when I'm feeling up to it, you know, if I get this spot, enter the temple invisible, and I'm like, oh, hey, what does that mean? You know, I go into the guidebook and I read the entire poem, and being that I am an English teacher by trade, I definitely enjoy learning about these messages and reading the poems that are larger and seeing all the connections that are made. So this is the Prophet Oracle, 1000%, 5 out of 5 for me. I would give it like a 10 out of 5 if I could. The next prompt is a deck that I have a difficult time using. I can't pick it up. I keep putting off using it, and that would be the Queen of the Moon Oracle. So guys, I really don't know why I picked this up. I think I got suckered into the artwork. I got suckered into the price being affordable. I was on vacation with my husband when we went into a metaphysical shop, and I really wanted to buy a deck to commemorate that, and I felt like this was a good one to purchase. And the reason that I say this is because I'm not really someone who's into the moon cycles. That's not something that I work with. Now, I am a Cancer rising, so many people think, oh, well, maybe you would be. No, it's not really my thing. And so I definitely see the artwork for what it is. But since I'm not someone who follows the moon cycles, wax and gibbous 5, okay, it means focus. That's all I'm pretty much going to get from that. And so I think that this oracle has its time, and I think it has its place for me. I like using it to read for other people, especially when I'm reading like in a more abstract setting, because the keywords are short and they really can offer an anchor to the reading. But ultimately, this is not something that I use often. It's something that when I pull it out and put it on my table to use, I find that I gravitate towards other decks. Like, I just don't want to use it. But I don't believe in like re-gifting my decks. My collection's not that big as it is, so I really do feel like all the decks that come in are here for a purpose, and so I'm going to give them their opportunity to shine. It might be a while before I get to this, but I am confident that I'll circle around for it and find its place. So as far as it goes with underrated decks, I knew exactly which one it was going to be when I picked it. This is called Enchanted Blooms. So I think that I have the first edition, because when I look at the editions that are being published now, the artwork just looks slightly different. The butterflies look a lot larger. The flowers look a lot larger, but I mean, I could be incorrect in saying that. This was my first oracle deck. It really was the hug deck, the affirmation deck that I needed at the time. And I think that people shy away from it because it is primarily a positive deck. I say primarily, like it is a positive deck. Like, you're not going to find anything in the guidebook that's going to propel you into like diving into the deepest, darkest corners of your soul. This is not a shadow work deck. I mean, I guess any deck could be a shadow work deck, but this is not primarily used for that. It's not a pokey deck per se. It really is a deck that lifts you up. But the reason that I say this is underrated is because in the guidebook, you get a large amount of information about the flowers that are depicted. And she's able to connect those flowers to the overall keyword that she's picked really, really succinctly and well. She also gives journal prompts. So I consider this to be a really good deck for people that are beginners, because those journal prompts when I was learning tarot really afforded me the opportunity to build spreads that were nurturing, were uplifting. And so if I had to say any piece of advice to someone who had just started reading, I would say get a deck like this, which is affirming. Because especially when you're just starting out, you know, you pull the tower and you freak out. But look, if it has, I don't know, a nice little butterfly like courage, you know, you can handle that. So that was my underrated deck. Now, the deck that everyone should have. I'm going to show you the deck, and then I'm also going to show you what I pair it with on this one, because I think they're a pretty special pair. I don't care what anyone says. People can say, this artwork is terrible. I don't care. This is Power of Surrender Oracle, and it kicks my butt. It really does. So even though the messages are portrayed in an uplifting capacity, even though the artwork is just honestly really silly to people in 2024, I'm sure it was like state of the art in its time, this deck does it for me. And so there's something uncanny about this deck's ability to read the situation, to pinpoint the situation, and to give the exact advice that you need. So for example, you know, this was a card that had popped up for me the other day, and I don't really consider myself someone who like tries to control people. And then sure enough, I went to school, I went to work, and I realized, oh no. Okay, and you know, I think that cards like this that say directly on here, surrender your desire to control people, surrender to the spirit, surrender to creativity. These messages are so short, and you don't get a guidebook with this. All you get is this. And so there's no abstractness to it. The messages are there, black and white, and the messages are written in a way that are meant to guide you through your healing, but also if you need to, you know, call you out in a way. So I love this deck, Power of Surrender. I'm going to show what I pair it with. I know this is going a little off topic because of the Oracle deck, but I think it's a good match. So Lisa Pepez mentioned a long time ago that she liked to use the Zombie Tarot for interpersonal work. So when I'm finding myself not understanding where people are coming from, when I'm finding myself really struggling to comprehend like a social situation, or like how I should act in a social situation, or especially the power dynamics of a social situation, I always pull these cards. And I mean, look at that. You know, Wheel of Fortune, Surrender to Miracles, beautiful. Okay, that one doesn't work. Four of Wands, like surrender to restless live. That's because I cut the deck though. But most of them, the Moon, surrender your fear of intimacy. It's just so beautiful. I really appreciate how these two read together. I find that this is like telling me exactly what's happening in the social situation, and then this tells me the concrete advice for how it works. But every single time that I'm struggling, like in a social situation, this is my bonded pair. But I do tend to use the power of surrender with other things as well. So that was my response to the 5 Oracle deck challenge. I'm really enjoying my time producing videos and being on YouTube. So, you know, if you'd like to say hi, please say hi in the comment section. I'll reply. So thank you so much for watching. And if you made it to the end of the video, I hope to see you next time.